All right, you guys. No soup for you. Well, not exactly. No snack food for you. As RFK Jr. has just basically taken many snack foods off of the list of foods that you can use your SNAP card for. I mean, what's next? What's next? Are they going to start counting calories now? For how much they think you should eat to make America healthy again? This is starting to shape up to evolve into something that's starting to look a little bit like rationing, isn't it? Now, we'll get into that today and some other stories. I do have to tell you that yesterday I decoded that Starship Invasions movie from 1977, and it was off the chain. There was 5G frequency pandemic genocide that caused people to unalive themselves. There were literal data centers named by name. There were genetic experiments and an Egyptian feathered serpent race of reptilian aliens. So that will be tomorrow's show. And then Friday's show will link into this as well, because there was a brand new temple that was discovered high up in the Andes Mountains at 12,000 foot elevation. But yet I found connections to the temple of the feathered serpent thousands of miles away. Now, no one else has found these things yet because archaeologists don't know how to connect the dots, do they? But I was able to connect the dots on several things. I'm not going to give it away because I'm sure they'll run out and pretend like they found it. But the two are absolutely connected. And so we'll get into that on Friday. Now, good morning, everybody. Let's get caught up on some of these headlines. Now, I'm already seeing the Epstein scandal just slip away from people's consciousness. And they're trying to distract everybody with all this Ukraine drama, the immigration raids. And the news is now stepping up their game. And they are featuring these horrific situations. Migrants, the dangerous migrants, right? The dangerous illegals. As if there aren't American citizens that are dangerous either. We know that as human beings, accidents happen. We know that things are dangerous. We know that there are bad people who are immigrants and there are bad people who are citizens. But now they're highlighting this dangerous illegal meme. There are dangerous legal drunk drivers and there are dangerous illegal drunk drivers. Has anyone done the studies on the percentage of illegals that are drunk driving and the percentage of legal people that are drunk drivers? I don't think anyone's looked at that, because if they did, they might be shocked. Now, I don't know the answer to that, but I can tell you this. If you're already illegal and doing something wrong, a lot of times people are more careful, aren't they? Because they don't want to get deported. Let me give you a prime example. I was in France. I was there well past my visa. I was there almost 2 years. And there were things I did and didn't do because I wasn't ready to come home yet. So therefore, I was careful. I drove the speed limit. I always slowed down. I tried to minimize the amount of tickets, and I definitely didn't drink and drive. So you can imagine that drunk driving rates might be lower. Now, of course, there are other people who are just criminals who are going to do that, but that goes without saying. And now look at this. They got this guy. Let's play some of this here.
Charged after his truck jackknifed a minivan while making an illegal U-turn, killing the 3 people inside the van. The migrant, who is believed to have crossed the border illegally in 2018, was granted a commercial driver's license by the state of California. He now faces vehicular homicide charges and
So this guy doesn't look high to me. He looks like he was making an illegal U turn, which absolutely is a bad thing. But this is a horrific accident. Now, I'm not trying to run interference for illegal people. What I'm trying to tell you is this has now become a meme. They're going to hyperbolize this so they can steal more of our rights. The fact that this accident happened in California, as if there was never any illegal accidents before. We know that these accidents happen. We know that semi-truck drivers can be dangerous. How many meth head truck drivers do we get featured on Fox News who cause horrific accidents? If you grew up in California and you drive down Highway 5 or Highway 99, there's one of these accidents every other week. And usually it's a meth head, not an illegal. So they're going to highlight this one just to drive the nail in, as this guy jackknifed his truck, or he didn't jackknife, he was doing an illegal U-turn, and these people ran right into him. Now, I'm not protesting the deportations. I'm protesting how they're being handled and the freedoms and rights that they're trampling on to get there. And I'm 100% sure that the deportations and the raids are simply a Trojan horse precursor to the end of American privacy and freedom rights. Now, truth channels are already covering the TikTok videos of ICE agents and also the military in DC literally demanding people's IDs. You guys have all seen them if you've been on TikTok, demanding people ID themselves without a warrant and these things, searching people without a warrant, searching cars, searching buildings. And with these raids, deadly confrontations are bound to happen, aren't they? Literally bringing escalated violence into an activity that was supposed to decrease violence. In this particular case, federal agents opened fire on a family in San Bernardino. Now, understand, this isn't just the officer's fault. Understand there's a level of tension that's happened, that they've been put into this situation. There's aggression, there's pent-up aggression. They've been programmed also by the right-left paradigm, so they're angry at the Democrats for letting it get to this point. They're angry at the Democrats for letting all these people cross the border and their policies and paying them money to stay and all these things, because they don't understand that they're getting played by the right side just as well, that all this had to happen. Both sides are working together to create chaos. So they've been thrown into this. They've got objects being thrown at them. They've got literal crowds of people, gangs of people coming at them, being surrounded, things thrown at them. Now, how did we get here? Well, the U.S. has never been consistent about immigration policies, even though this should have been enforced for decades under national security. So how did it get to this point? Well, we all know the answer. Greed. As the politicians looked the other way, Republican and Democrat, because they were getting cheap labor to make as much money as they possibly could in their companies. Why do you think they're offshoring a lot of their businesses? Because they get even cheaper labor. But hey, if we have to, we'll just hire illegals here. Corporate interests, wishy-washy policies. Do you see how this really isn't the people's fault? This is greed's fault. Otherwise, this would have been enforced a long time ago, and there's plenty of blame to go around because I believe this was intentional across aisles. Now, Trump is pretending to fix it. Well, what's really happening? Well, I believe this is a political power grab that is setting a dangerous precedent. You see, as these jobs continue to erode, people are going to get angrier and angrier. But then there will be nothing people can do because the military, now that they've been allowed into the cities, will simply squash any dissent or chaos. They'll say, oh, it's the liberals looting again. They'll just blame it on liberals. And even if you're a conservative person angry about this, you'll be lumped in with the liberals. Oh, yeah, look what they did. They burned down the cities. Remember? We can't let that happen. And then the brainwashed military will go along with the program. They're getting huge bonuses for bringing in illegals, $1,500 per arrest. They're bragging about it. Gosh, I'd like to make a $1,500 bonus every time I did something. That would be nice. So essentially, we set up a mercenary system where they can get endless amounts of recruits to come in, people desperate for money with borderline morals or that are just thoroughly deceived, come in and make hundreds of thousands of dollars and do this for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. And that would be the definition of a mercenary. Doing questionable things, but by the time they get down to it, they've lost themselves. They don't even realize what they're doing. Ex-Google exec says degrees in law and medicine are now a waste of time because they take so long to complete. AI will catch up by graduation. They're literally saying now that if you're a doctor or you want to go on to be a lawyer, your degree is obsolete or will be within the next few years. Now, we said this was going to happen. Remember, they were forcing these doctors to follow protocols. We saw it on display during the COVID pandemic. They were forced to do things a certain way. And if they didn't, they lost their license. And then we had legislation come in that literally took away doctors' licenses. This was in California. If they didn't follow the protocol, in a few other states, I believe, maybe New York. So doctors just gave in. There was one doctor that didn't give in. He was giving his patients saline injections instead of the real thing. Fortunately, he was exonerated. But imagine the faith that you'd have to go on to risk it all. Risk your doctor's degree, even if you had loans to pay back, to do the right thing. So now that they've got most doctors living in fear, they simply push everybody into the protocol, which an AI can easily duplicate. And then essentially medicine will be reduced down to medical procedures, a lot of which they can train robots to do. But if not, they'll just train people on the procedures. And then they'll just be listening to a computer tell them what to do. Unbelievable. Now the same applies to law and lawyers. You don't need an attorney anymore. When legal procedures take over, reminds me of the movie Idiocracy, where a computer program was what determined how things were handled. Nobody even knew how to think anymore. You just plug in whatever laws and everything into a database and the procedures for how to handle situations, and the computer just spits it back out to you. Now, of course, this new legal system, it won't apply to the people in power. It'll only apply to you and I, because we're the lower class, aren't we, in their eyes? They'll continue to get away with things like the Epstein files and all this. But wait, guess what? Bill Barr says that there was absolutely nothing in the Epstein files that implicated Trump. Okay, I guess that's why he won't release them. Former Attorney General Bill Barr says he didn't see Trump implicated in the Epstein files. Wow. Let's see if this plays. Now, he was subpoenaed to testify about this. The first thing he does is exonerate Trump. And so there you go. Here we are, you guys. Here we are. Looks like my computer does not want to move. So we'll wait for that to refresh. Okay. See if this plays.
Or commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if she's
It's something I haven't thought about.
It's really something.
Recommended it.
It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
Now, if you haven't heard by now, they're saying that the Justice Department is finally going to hand over the files to Congress, and we're supposed to believe that that's going to happen. And even though we know it's just a ruse, Justice Department will start handing over Epstein files to Congress this week. And people are already coming out saying this is still a cover up because they're releasing it in batches and it's redacted because they probably need more time to go through this stuff and remove all of Trump's name from all of it. We already know, they already admitted Trump's names were all over these files. But let's see how much of that we see when the files are released. And they're not even being released to us. They're being released to the House Oversight Committee so they can determine if their names are in here. And then maybe they don't want to release the files either. Wow. Now, this is funny. Many of you will remember this image. Right after Trump got elected, they all celebrated with some McDonald's, and not just a little bit of McDonald's. We're talking 2,000 to 5,000 calories per meal. And the crazy thing, look at RFK Jr. He had the most. He had, what is that, a quarter pounder, 2 quarter pounders, large fry, and a Coke with sauces. That's at least 2,000 calories. Trump, 2 Big Macs, large fries with lots of sauce. That's a couple thousand calories right there. This Donald Trump Jr. He was the only one that seemed to. Oh wait, no, this is Elon Musk. Elon Musk is picking out here, and Donald Trump looked like a fillet of fish and a Big Mac. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't eat this food, but what I'm saying is the hypocrisy of this. What I'm going to tell you next is glaring, because now RFK Jr. says no snack foods for you. What am I talking about? Secretary Kennedy celebrates more states removing junk food from SNAP at Make America Healthy Again Monday on the National Mall. And this is all starting to roll out. Now, this is a little bit of an older article, but essentially what he's saying is there's these waivers. And by removing the waivers, or wait, let's just read this. It says here, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy today joined Secretary of Agriculture, blah, 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 to celebrate her signing of 6 new supplemental nutrition assistance program state waivers to advance the Trump administration's priority to make America healthy again. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds and West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey joined them on the Maha Monday event on the National Mall. Monday marks the second day of the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Great American Farmers Market, blah, blah, blah. The SNAP waivers for West Virginia, Florida, Colorado, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Texas amend the statutory definition of food for purchase and end the subsidization of popular type of junk foods beginning in 2026. So in 2026, you will no longer be able to get soda, candy, and anything else they deem unhealthy. Wow. Now, right now, it's just soda and candy. But what about chips? What about other things? You guys, welcome to the nanny state. These people are hypocrites because, we're supposed to live in a free country where you get to choose what you eat, right? Well, not anymore. And I'm shocked to see it coming from the Republicans. I would expect it from the Democrats. Heck, I think there was a time in which the Democrats actually did try something like this. And as conservatives, we were up in arms about it. This was several years ago during Biden, I believe. And now that Trump's doing it, oh, no big deal. We need to be healthier while they're eating McDonald's. Somebody give me a break. Now, let me check in with you guys, and we're going to end the show today with a bang. Because during Trump's first term, we noticed that all of his flagship skyscrapers were black. And then we found that two of Trump's buildings appeared in the Dark Knight trilogy, one in Chicago and Trump Tower in Manhattan. And that many films were actually filmed inside of or in front of Trump buildings. And so one particular film stood out. The Devil's Advocate. The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves, because it was filmed inside of Trump's penthouse. Remember this? The Devil's Advocate was filmed inside of Trump's penthouse on the 66th floor. The scenes with Keanu Reeves, there was a rich billionaire, filmed in Trump's home amidst the backdrop of gold-plated furniture, gold-plated silverware, and Apollo on the ceiling and on the walls. In fact, Trump's name is actually mentioned in the film. One of the demon women, one of the shapeshifters, says that Donald Trump was supposed to be here tonight. But here's what we're going to talk about today, because at the end of the film, a particular song played. The song in the closing credits of The Devil's Advocate was Painted Black by the Rolling Stones. Now, we had covered this before, but we're going to cover it again. Here's the image when the song just starts to play. And there you see the actor. And he had shapeshifted from a person that worked in the press. Press backwards is serpent or serp. The serpent revealed. Now, what are we on about and why are we talking about this now? Why are we talking about Trump black buildings and painted black and all this stuff? Well, we're going to get to that. But first, I need to show you why The Devil's Advocate was filmed in Trump Tower and why this song was played. Are you ready? Painted Black by the Rolling Stones, released in 1966 on the 66th day of the year and was played at the end of The Devil's Advocate that was filmed in the 66th floor penthouse of Donald Trump. It was actually recorded, on the 66th day of the year, March 7th. Now, what else is happening here? Well, there's a bit more to this. And early on, we surmised that seeing a red door and wanting to paint it black, we saw that that went all the way back to ancient Egypt. The enslavement of the Israelites and the last plague. I call it the Passover plague. Why? Because the Israelites were told to paint their doors with the blood of the Lamb. And so the doors would be red on the post and lintel, which are the sides and top. That way they would be passed over and their firstborn would survive the last plague. Now, Jesus came and completed that last plague, didn't he? He became the Passover lamb, the last Passover, offering himself, his body and his blood to save the rest of us so that our firstborn would be passed over. So, what would an Egyptian pharaoh want to do? They would want to paint that red door black. Now, this could mean a few things. Black serpent blood, the black canopic jar, filled with the DNA, the ancient pharaonic DNA, turned into black goo, just like in the Alien franchise. When the jars would open, the black goo would come out. And also, by painting the door black, the firstborn were no longer protected. Instead of being full of light, instead of being full of the Holy Spirit and the blood of the Lamb, their eye was full of darkness, the black goo. Now, there's another connection to this, which is just stunning. During the Black Plague, they would literally spray paint, or not spray paint, they didn't have spray paint back then. They had brushes and buckets of paint, and they would paint the doors red or black for those that were infected. They would paint like an X on it, and red and black meant different things. So now when we put it all together, the devil's advocate, the film seemed to know that there would be a pandemic coming and that Trump would be part of it. Now, why are we bringing all this back up? Well, check this out. 6 years and 6 months. There's a 66. After Trump first mentioned painting the border wall black, DHS secretary says she is going to start painting it black. 6 years and 6 months was the first time we ever heard this mentioned. I found it here. This was from February 2019. Trump suggested painting the border wall black so it's hotter in the sun. I couldn't find any older stories. I did the calendar to today, and it's 6 years and 6 months that Kristi Noem says they are going to paint the red door black. Now, how are we saying this is a door? Well, this is the wall. This is the door to our country, the border wall. Let's read, you guys. Homeland Security Kristi Noem said Tuesday that the entire border wall along the southern border with Mexico is going to be painted black to make it hotter and deter illegal immigration, as she credited Trump with the idea. She spoke during a visit to a portion of the wall in New Mexico, where she also picked up a roller brush to help out with the painting. She touted the height of the wall, as well as the depth, as ways to deter people seeking to go over and under the walls. And then Noem said Homeland Security was going to be trying black paint to make the metal hotter. Just after the song starts to play at the end of The Devil's Advocate, fire ensues as the credits close. Yes, the devil used fire. I think there were a couple scenes in the movie too where he could make water boil by sticking his finger in it, if I'm remembering correctly. Making the wall hotter is a straight up reference to hell. I mean, who even thinks of that? Who comes up with that? Who comes up with burning somebody? It appears as though Trump is the devil's advocate. Now, tomorrow we will get into some more demons, Egyptian demons. This is from Starship Invasions. This is Christopher Lee, and he is wearing a feathered serpent on his chest. He is one of the aliens. They use 5G technology to cause people to end their own life. We're going to get into that tomorrow. And then again on Friday, we're going to get into some, what I believe are Egyptian pyramids in Mesoamerica. All of it's connected. So I'm back in the chat, you guys. Crazy, right? Just insane. Let's look this up. Plague painted doors. I just want to make sure we get this right. Okay. Gosh, this is in the Roblox game too? Doors marked with red or black cross, often signifying plague or infection in the game's environment. Wow. That was in Roblox. Let's try this. During the times of the plague, it was common practice to mark the doors in the infected houses with a painted cross, often red, to indicate the presence of disease and to warn others. It was often accompanied by the inscription, Lord, have mercy upon us. So red would be infected. What black would mean. Red cross itself was a symbol of sickness and mortality. Black cross. Red or black to warn others of the disease. Wow. All right, I'll put links to all this in the pinned comment. How are you guys doing? Doors were marked with an X for those who didn't have a willing sacrifice on the original Halloween. Wow. Red on the doorpost is the blood of the lamb. Yes, David. During the Holodomor, villages that were wiped out had black flags placed at each end, signifying that all life had been exterminated, including wildlife. Oh boy. Trump was joking about getting into heaven. Red Cross. We'll know them by their fruits. And was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name called the Word of God. Took 20 years to qualify Snap for farmers markets. Soda and candy and even Velveeta cheese was not eligible before. Okay. Anagram, educated, Casey, please. I'm not understanding. Trump says he's trying to get to heaven, but don't know what forgiveness is. Wow. Let's pull that up. Watching Batman playlists. They're awesome. Thanks, Ken. Okay, let's see. Trump, heaven. New Heaven Declaration. Let's read. Trump sparks more health concerns with surprise New Heaven Declaration. Oh boy. Paywall. Let's try different. One. I want to try and get to heaven. Trump gets reflective on Fox and Friends. Oh boy, that's New York Times. There will definitely be a paywall there. Trump hopes he can get into heaven by solving the Ukraine war. If I can get to heaven, Trump on solving the Russian-Ukraine war. Wow. Let's read this one here. 79-year-old U.S. President Trump has previously said he wants to end Russia's war in Ukraine as part of his bid to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump said Tuesday that a Ukraine peace deal could boost his chances of getting to heaven, joking that his odds of making it through the pearly gates are currently low. Literally admitting, listen, if you're born again, you accept Jesus Christ, and you're not a rampant sinner going around murdering people, wrecking marriages, you're going to get to heaven, and you have faith in that. Jesus didn't say that there were things that you had to do. Repent and be saved. So why is he even saying this? This makes absolutely no sense. This is not something that a Christian would say unless you were doing something really, really wrong and your salvation was in doubt. This is just spooky, you guys. 79-year-old president has previously said he wants to end Russia's war as part of his bid to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, winning the Nobel Peace Prize isn't going to get you into heaven, so that's ridiculous. But a day after hosting the leaders of Ukraine and several European nations at the White House, Trump said his motivations were not all earthly. I want to try to get to heaven if possible. I hear I'm not doing well. I hear I'm really at the bottom of the totem pole. What? But if I can get to heaven, this will be one of the reasons. By traditional yardsticks, the 3 times married, twice impeached Trump is no saint. Wow. Now, interestingly, notice how they're focusing on the things that God doesn't really care too much about. Impeached president, 3 times married. There are a lot worse things that Trump has done that nobody wants to talk about. The greed, which in turn causes mass suffering. And of course, the it that already killed millions. I would be more concerned about that than being married 3 times and impeached, because those are men's standards, not heavenly things. Wow. Trump has taken on an increasingly religious tone since surviving this, which is fake. Now, it's funny because Gavin Newsom knows, even though he's a left-wing liberal, he even knows that the whole thing was fake. Did you see Gavin Newsom with the ketchup bottle? Let's look it up. These are the kind of memes going around. Let's see if they show it here. Here it is. Look at this. Everybody knows he's got the ketchup bottle on the ear, and they're all laughing. This is the big joke that they got hundreds million Christian Americans to believe that this really happened. But the problem is because the truth is coming out of Gavin Newsom, no one's going to believe it. They're just going to double down on it. We all knew, and many others in the truth community knew. But this is crazy, you guys. I'll put a link to this story too. Thanks for bringing that up so we could cover it. Literal insanity is happening before our eyes. Yes, turning the homeless into criminals, that would be something God would hate. Jesus would come back and say, I never knew you. You just kicked out a bunch of people who were trying to spread the gospel. So that is just crazy. Just crazy. Uh-oh. We're all in the flesh, which means we are in constant war with sin. That's absolutely correct. Trump is saying heaven to give Santa Claus Christians a crumb. Maybe this has a double meaning. Maybe, remember, the devil wants to elevate himself above the Most High. That would be a kind of dark heaven, wouldn't it? Maybe he hasn't done enough evil things, and that's what he's really saying, to get to the dark place. You got to always look at things in the opposite. Maybe that was what he was really saying. He's got to do some more darkness. Wow. Well, ranch update. I got all my blackberries pruned. Gosh, I had one that was like 15 feet long. The thing was snaking all over the place. I was like, okay, I got to get out here and get this done. And if you haven't done this, it's probably time to do it. I pretty much there was no fruit left on the vines. Finally got a good rain. Not a great rain, but good enough. I mean, it rained probably about an inch or two. And because it had not rained in like a whole month. So that's kind of what's going on out here. Tomatoes are starting to come to a close with the harvest. And as soon as I get the tomato plants out of the beds, I'm just going to drop in all my greens, spinach, lettuce, and all that stuff. Arugula. I got all kinds of seeds. And that will grow, and that'll be really good. I also bit the bullet. I am going to do some canning this year. I didn't want to, but I've got too many tomatoes. I do want to can these tomatoes. So I got a little canning kit, and I'll be doing canning probably in like September. So that'll be fun. So things are coming along out here. Marcy made some salsa. It was awesome. That's spectacular. Cowboy candy with jalapenos. Am I still boxing? No, I'm not boxing. I've been doing a daily workout. I lost about 20 pounds. I feel great. I don't want to, get all crazy, but I do want to stay in shape. I want to be healthy and with lots of energy in my 50s. So, but I haven't hit the bag. I don't think I have the energy left. I do a 30-minute workout every day and take like one day off, and I just don't have any energy left after that. So, KCS, if you freeze, go down to the grid. I'm making sauces today. Yeah, I've got them all frozen right now, and I looked on YouTube, and there are videos, and literally you take the frozen tomatoes and you just basically put them in a big pot, and you start heating it up, and the skins come right off. Then you throw it in a blender, and you've got sauce. And then you add a couple ingredients, not a lot, into a jar, and then you can can them, and they'll last for like years. But I'll eat them throughout the year. So good for you. Just in time grew great cabbage. That's awesome. First time success. Oh my gosh, you guys. I made the best. The best. They're called 7-Up biscuits. And you can look it up on you can just look it up on YouTube. This southern guy, it is a riot. I was watching it. And this southern guy, he's like, 7-Up biscuits. We're gonna make some 7-Up biscuits now. And he's like, it's one ingredient. Well, it's like 3 ingredients. And the guy literally took a cast iron skillet. Like I bought a cast iron skillet just so I could make these 7-Up biscuits because I didn't own one before. And he's like, first you take a whole stick of butter and you put it in a pan, put it in this cast iron skillet, put it in the oven, let it while it's heating up. And so he's got this butter melting in the pan. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Anytime you start a recipe off with a whole stick of butter, right? Then he's like, then you get some 7-Up. All you need is a cup of 7-Up and some sour cream. And so he pulls out, and self-rising flour. Those are the only 3 ingredients. I was like, these cannot possibly taste good. And he put it all together, sour cream, a cup of 7-Up. He's like, then you pour it out onto the board with some flour. Put that flour on there and push it down. He goes, don't roll it. These aren't the rolling kind of biscuits. These are the kind you press down on the board very gently. Because if you roll them, you're going to have flat biscuits. And then he kept like smashing it, folding it and pushing it down, folding and pushing it down. He goes, these are the layers. These are the layers. You pull your biscuit apart and put the butter inside of it. I was like, wow. Then he's pushing this down, and then he takes the cutter. So he's like, then you cut them out. And then he pulls the pan out and he pours most of the butter off, but he leaves a bunch of it in the bottom of the pan, and he sticks the biscuits right in the hot pan, right in the hot skillet, puts it back in the oven for like 15 minutes. Then he pulls it out and he pours butter all over the top of it. I'm like, man, this is like these are heart attack biscuits. That's what they are. But why is it that people in the South live into their hundreds? Well, because they're eating real butter. That's why. So then he pulls them out after that, and I couldn't even believe how good these biscuits were. With the sour, I'm like, sour cream? But I guess that's how you make it. Anyway, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about when you search 7-Up biscuits and you see this awesome old man from the South making them. And he was just so good at it. I was like, I had to try it. So I did. So 7-Up biscuits. Maybe I could use club soda. Yeah, club soda would work probably. I think it's something about the bubbles in it, but it makes them super fluffy. Now you guys are all going to go out and make 7-Up biscuits. It was just so simple. So don't do pretend butter, says Tonnet. Grandpa died at 98. Butter, eggs, and bacon every day of his life. Wow. Sour cream is basically buttermilk. Okay. So they're basically a buttermilk biscuit. Because buttermilk's a little bit harder to get a hold of, isn't it? Margarine is one molecule away from plastic. Definitely do not use margarine in this recipe. The Devil's Advocate poster has fire as a reflection on the table. Yeah. It was all fire and flames at the end of that. It's the bubbles, but the chemicals in sugar are not good, says Carrie. Buttermilk is delicious. Make cake with soda. It works, says Edward. My grandma's still alive. Beer, bacon, steak, and eggs, all of it. 6 generations are alive right now. Wow. Yeah, unfortunately, I grew up on margarine, but as soon as I became aware, I switched to butter. Yeah, that cookie crock. Oh my gosh. Fart bubbles, says Marcy. I just fart in the biscuits. We went from 7 Up to club soda to just fart in the biscuits. You guys are funny. All right. Yeah. Good. Take it easy, you guys. Much love. Thanks for showing up. I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Much love. Take care.